The unusual crying. In a small, sunny apartment on the edge of town, a baby named Malik was playing with his colorful toys. The room was filled with laughter, the soft sound of toys squeaking, and the cheerful chirping of birds outside. Malik's father, James, watched him with a big smile. He loved his little boy more than anything in the world. But today, something was different. Every time Grandma Helen walked into the room, Malik's joyful laughter turned into loud, heartbreaking cries. James noticed this strange behavior right away. It puzzled him. Why would Malik cry when his grandmother, who loved him dearly, came close? Grandma Helen, a kind-hearted woman in her 60s, always had a bright smile and a warm hug for her grandson. She came over often to spend time with Malik, bringing him gifts like soft blankets and new toys. But today, as soon as she stepped into the living room, Malik's tiny face scrunched up, and his little lips began to quiver. "Why are you crying, sweetheart?" Grandma asked gently, her voice filled with concern. She bent down, reaching out her arms, hoping to comfort him. But instead of reaching for her, Malik pushed himself back, his little hands waving in the air. James felt his heart drop. This was not like Malik at all. The baby loved his grandmother and would usually giggle when she played peek-a-boo or sang silly songs. But now, it was as if he was scared. "Maybe he's just tired," James suggested, trying to reassure both Grandma and himself. He picked Malik up, holding him close. The baby buried his face in James's shoulder, still crying. "No, it's not that," Grandma replied, her voice shaky. "I can feel that something is wrong. He never acts like this." James looked into Malik's eyes, searching for answers. What could it be? He wondered aloud. "You're not doing anything different, are you, Mom?" He turned to Grandma, hoping she might have some explanation. "I don't know, James," she said, her brow furrowing in worry. "I love this baby. I would never hurt him. I don't understand why he's afraid of me." As James watched the scene unfold, he began to worry. Was there something hidden that he didn't know about? Was there a reason Malik was so upset? The more he thought about it, the more questions flooded his mind. Over the next few days, Malik continued to cry whenever Grandma was around. James tried everything to find a solution. He thought maybe it was the smell of Grandma's perfume, or the way she moved. Each time Grandma came to visit, he would observe closely, but nothing seemed out of the ordinary. One afternoon, while playing with Malik, James decided to ask him questions about his feelings. "Why do you cry when Grandma comes near? Do you not like her?" He spoke softly, hoping Malik would somehow understand him. But the baby only stared back with wide, innocent eyes, completely unaware of the concern swirling around him. James felt frustrated. He needed to get to the bottom of this. That evening, while Malik was napping, James sat down with Grandma in the kitchen. They sipped tea together, the air filled with an uneasy silence. Finally, James broke the stillness. "Mom, I need to talk to you about Malik. He cries every time you're here. I just don't understand why." Grandma Helen looked at him, her eyes widening in surprise. "I've noticed too. It breaks my heart. I would never hurt him, James. I love him so much." "I know you do," James replied. "But something must be causing this. Have you done anything different? Has anything changed in your life?" Grandma shook her head slowly. "No, nothing. I mean, I had a rough week, but that's just life, isn't it? I don't think it should affect Malik." James nodded, feeling frustrated. How could something so simple be so complicated? He needed answers. The bond between Malik and his grandmother was too important to let this go on. As the night fell, James lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Malik's cries. What if there was something more to this? He couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to protect his child. Suddenly, an idea struck him. What if Malik was reacting to something he sensed in Grandma? Children have a way of picking up on emotions that adults might miss. What if Grandma was feeling anxious or sad, and Malik could feel it too? With that thought, James decided to pay closer attention. The next day, he would watch Grandma more carefully, looking for any signs of distress. He wanted to understand what was happening. As sleep finally took over, James felt a mix of anxiety and determination. He was resolved to find out the truth. Little did he know that the answers would lead him down a path he never expected, forcing him to confront deep family secrets that could change everything. The next morning, he woke up early, filled with questions. He looked at Malik, who was sleeping peacefully, unaware of the worry surrounding him. James promised himself that he would protect his son no matter what. He had to get to the bottom of this mystery, for Malik's sake and for Grandma's as well. The day was just beginning, and James knew he had a long journey ahead, a father's concern. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting warm rays across Malik's room. James watched his son sleeping peacefully, his tiny chest rising and falling softly. The image of his little boy brought a smile to his face, but the worry about Malik's cries still nagged at him. James knew he needed to figure this out, for the sake of both his son and his mother. After breakfast, James decided to confront Grandma Helen again. He could sense her worry, just as he sensed Malik's fear. Maybe they could work together to uncover the truth. The family had always been close, and this situation felt strange, like a dark cloud hanging over them. When Grandma arrived, James noticed her expression was different than usual. She seemed nervous, her hands fidgeting as she set down her bag. This made James even more curious. "Mom, can we talk?" James asked, leading her to the living room. He gestured for her to sit down on the couch. "Of course, dear," she replied, her voice soft. "What's on your mind?" "It's about Malik," James began, his voice steady but filled with concern. "He still cries every time you come near him. I really need to understand why. I feel like something is off." Grandma Helen's brow furrowed, and she sighed deeply. "I wish I knew, James. I love that boy with all my heart. I can't stand seeing him upset." James took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "I noticed you seem a bit anxious lately. Is there something bothering you that you haven't shared with me?" Grandma looked down, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It's just, I've had a lot on my mind. It's been a tough time for me." She hesitated, as if weighing whether to continue. "You know, since your father passed away, I felt lost. I've tried to put on a brave face, but it hasn't been easy." James felt a wave of sympathy wash over him. Losing his father had been hard on all of them, especially Grandma. He reached out, placing his hand over hers. "I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't realize how much you were struggling. But Malik can sense your feelings. Maybe that's why he's reacting this way." "Do you think so?" Grandma asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Children are very sensitive," James explained. "They pick up on emotions that adults sometimes hide. If you're feeling sad or anxious, he might be responding to that without understanding why." Grandma nodded slowly, her expression shifting from worry to a glimmer of hope. "I never thought about it like that. I just thought I was being silly. I didn't want to burden anyone with my problems." "You're not a burden, Mom. We're family," James reassured her. "We're here to support each other. If something is bothering you, let's talk about it. It might help both you and Malik." Feeling encouraged, Grandma began to share more of her feelings. She talked about her loneliness since her husband's passing, the quiet house that felt so empty, and how sometimes the weight of it all felt too heavy to bear. James listened intently, realizing how much Grandma had been holding in. The conversation was a breakthrough. They discussed ways for her to cope, from joining community groups to finding activities she loved. It felt good to share, and James hoped this would help both Malik and Grandma. As they talked, James noticed Malik peeking around the corner. The baby's wide eyes sparkled with curiosity. Seeing Malik's little face light up made Grandma smile, and James felt the warmth spread through his heart. "Look, Malik," James called out. "Come here, buddy." The baby crawled towards them, a big grin on his face. When he reached Grandma, he stopped, looking up at her with a mix of wonder and caution. "Hi there, sweet boy," Grandma said softly, holding out her arms. This time, Malik hesitated but didn't cry. He seemed unsure, searching her face for something. James felt his heart race. "See, he might be sensing a change in you," he whispered to Grandma. "Your love is still there, even if it feels buried under sadness." Grandma smiled, and her eyes sparkled with hope. "You're right, James. I'll try to be more positive. I want to be the grandma he deserves." As the afternoon wore on, they played with Malik, who giggled as they tossed a softball back and forth. For the first time in days, the room felt lighter. James could see the joy returning to Grandma's eyes as she interacted with her grandson. But deep down, James still felt a sense of unease. What if Malik's cries were tied to something deeper? He decided to dig deeper into Grandma's past, to understand if there was more to uncover. Later that night, as James lay in bed, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. He needed to protect Malik and ensure his happiness. There were still questions left unanswered, and he was determined to find the truth. Tomorrow, he would talk to other family members and see if they had noticed anything strange. As sleep slowly took over, James vowed to unravel this mystery, hoping to bring peace and safety back into their family. The bond between Malik and Grandma was too precious to let fear and confusion tear them apart. Hidden truths. The next morning, the sun shone brightly, filling James's home with warmth and light. He woke up with a sense of purpose, determined to uncover the truth about Malik's unusual behavior. As he got ready, he thought about how important it was to ensure his son felt safe and loved, especially around Grandma Helen. After breakfast, James decided to call his sister Lisa. They had always been close, and he hoped she might have insights about their mother that could help them understand what was going on. He dialed her number, and after a few rings, she picked up. "Hey, James. What's up?" Lisa sounded cheerful, and James felt a wave of relief. "Hey, Lisa. I need to talk to you about Mom," James said, keeping his voice low. "Have you noticed anything unusual with her lately?" There was a brief silence on the other end before Lisa responded. "Honestly, yeah. I've seen her looking more stressed than usual. But I just thought it was because of everything that's happened. You know how much she loved Dad." James nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "That's what I thought too. But Malik has been crying whenever she's around. I'm worried it's connected to how Mom's been feeling." "I didn't know that," Lisa exclaimed. "That's concerning. Do you think she's taking it out on Malik, or is it something else?" "I'm not sure," James replied, glancing at Malik playing on the floor with his toys. The baby was giggling, but there was a lingering sadness in his eyes. "I think there's more to it. We need to talk to her and see if she'll open up about how she's feeling." "Good idea. Maybe we can invite her over for dinner tonight. It might make her feel more comfortable," Lisa suggested. James agreed, feeling hopeful that a family gathering could help everyone relax. "Let's do it. I'll make her favorite dish, chicken Alfredo. It'll be a nice change of pace for all of us." Later that evening, Lisa arrived early to help James set up. They cooked together, reminiscing about their childhood and how much their parents loved hosting family dinners. It felt good to share those memories. But James still felt a weight in his chest. They needed to address Grandma's feelings. When Grandma Helen arrived, the atmosphere in the house was cheerful. The aroma of chicken Alfredo filled the air, and Malik squealed in delight when he saw her. "Hi, sweet pea," Grandma said, scooping Malik into her arms. For a moment, the sadness seemed to lift as they hugged. James watched, hoping that the joy of family would help ease Grandma's worries. During dinner, they chatted and laughed, sharing stories about their day. Grandma looked more relaxed, her laughter ringing out like music. James felt a sense of relief, but was still aware that the conversation needed to turn to the underlying issues. As they finished their meal, James took a deep breath and decided it was time. "Mom, we need to talk about something important," he began, his heart pounding. "It's about how you've been feeling since Dad passed away." Grandma's smile faded, and she looked down at her plate. "Oh, James, I don't want to be a burden. I thought I could manage on my own." Lisa chimed in, "Mom, we're here for you. We love you, and we want to help you through this. You don't have to hide your feelings from us." Tears brimmed in Grandma's eyes. "I've just felt so lost. Your father was my rock. And without him, everything feels different. I'm scared that I won't be a good grandma to Malik." James felt a wave of compassion wash over him. "You are a wonderful grandma, Mom. Malik loves you, but we need to face these feelings together. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to ask for help." Grandma nodded, the tears spilling down her cheeks. "I don't know why I've been so distant. It's like I've been pushing you both away. I thought if I stayed quiet, it would hurt less." James reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "Talking about it can help lighten that burden. We're family, and we can face these challenges together." After a long moment of silence, Grandma spoke again, her voice trembling. "I think Malik senses my sadness. It breaks my heart that he cries when I'm near. I never wanted to cause him pain." James squeezed her hand, reassuring her. "It's not your fault, Mom. We just need to work through this. It'll take time, but we're here for you." Lisa nodded in agreement. "Let's make it a family project. We can all spend more time together. That way we can heal, and Malik will feel that love too." As the night wore on, they talked about ways to strengthen their family bond. They planned regular family dinners and outings to create joyful memories together. With each word spoken, the tension in the room began to dissolve. Before Grandma left, she held Malik close, her heart swelling with love. "I promise to try my best," she whispered, brushing a kiss against his forehead. "I want to be the grandma he deserves." James watched, his heart full of hope. Maybe this was the turning point they needed. The family could heal together, and perhaps Malik's cries would soon turn into laughter. As he tucked Malik into bed that night, James felt a newfound sense of determination. He would protect his son and ensure that both Malik and Grandma Helen felt safe and loved. The journey wouldn't be easy, but with family by his side, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. A disturbing phone call. The next few days passed with a sense of calm in James's household. Grandma Helen made an effort to spend time with Malik, and he seemed more at ease around her. They would play together in the living room, and the laughter that filled the space was a welcome change. James felt a lightness in his heart, relief that they were making progress. One afternoon, while Malik was napping, James decided to take advantage of the quiet time to get some work done. He settled at his desk with his laptop, but as he was typing, his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at the screen. It was an unknown number. Curious but cautious, James answered, "Hello. Is this James?" A voice on the other end asked. It sounded serious, and James felt a chill run down his spine. "Yes, this is he. Who is this?" "My name is Officer Daniels. I'm calling about a situation involving your mother, Helen. You need to come down to the station as soon as possible." James's heart raced. What happened? Is she okay? There was a pause, and he could hear the officer take a deep breath. "She's fine for now, but we need to discuss something important. Please, come down right away." The line went dead before James could ask any more questions. Panic surged within him as he stood up from his desk. He quickly grabbed his keys and rushed out of the house, his mind racing with worry. What could have happened? Did Grandma have an accident? He couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The drive to the police station felt like an eternity. Thoughts of Malik filled his mind. He didn't want to scare his son, but he also needed to understand what was going on with his mother. As he parked and stepped into the building, he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. Inside, he approached the front desk and told the officer on duty that he was there to see Officer Daniels. After a brief wait, he was led to a small conference room. James's heart raced as he took a seat, his hands fidgeting nervously. Moments later, Officer Daniels entered, a stern expression on his face. "Thank you for coming in, James. I know this is unsettling, but we need to talk about your mother and a potential incident. Is she okay?" "What happened?" James asked, his voice tinged with worry. "Your mother was involved in a situation at the park yesterday. A woman reported that your mother had been behaving strangely around her child," Officer Daniels explained. "The woman was concerned because her child began to cry when your mother approached them." James felt a rush of anger and confusion. "That doesn't sound like my mom. She loves children. Why would she make someone uncomfortable?" The officer nodded. "I understand, but the woman was worried enough to call the police. We just want to ensure that your mother is okay and that she isn't a danger to herself or others." James took a deep breath, trying to process the information. "I can assure you, my mother isn't a danger. She's been struggling since my father passed, but she would never intentionally hurt anyone. Sometimes people react in ways that are not typical of their character when they're under stress. We just want to ensure she gets the support she needs," Officer Daniels said. "What do you want me to do?" James asked, his voice shaking. "I just want to protect her and my son. We'd like you to talk to her and see if she's willing to come in for a counseling session," the officer suggested. "It could help her work through her feelings and ensure she understands the impact of her actions on others." James nodded, grateful that the police were looking out for his mother. "I will talk to her. Thank you for bringing this to my attention." As he left the station, a heavy cloud hung over him. He needed to confront his mother again, but this time, the stakes felt higher. How could he help her understand what was happening? When he returned home, Malik was still napping. James took a moment to gather his thoughts, knowing he had to approach his mother delicately. He sat at the kitchen table, waiting for Grandma Helen to arrive. An hour later, she came through the door, looking tired but hopeful. "Hi, James. I brought some cookies for Malik. I thought we could have a little treat when he wakes up," she said, smiling. James forced a smile in return, but felt a knot in his stomach. "Mom, can we talk for a minute?" "Sure, honey. What's on your mind?" she replied, setting the cookies on the counter. He took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "I just got a call from the police. They mentioned a situation at the park yesterday. A woman was worried about you around her child." Grandma's expression shifted instantly from cheerful to serious. "Oh no, I didn't mean to scare anyone. I just wanted to say hello to the little girl. I thought she looked sweet." "I know, Mom, but your actions can sometimes be misunderstood. They want you to talk to someone about how you're feeling. It could help." Tears welled up in Grandma Helen's eyes. "I didn't realize it was that serious. I've just been feeling lost, and I thought being around children would help. But maybe I'm just making things worse." James moved closer, taking her hands in his. "We can work through this together. You're not alone in this. I'm here for you, and I want to help you get the support you need." "Okay, James, I'll try. I don't want to hurt anyone," she whispered, her voice trembling. As they stood together in the kitchen, James felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was the turning point they needed. It was time to face the fears and misunderstandings together, as a family. "You said." Inside, he approached the front desk and told the officer on duty that he was there to see Officer Daniels. After a brief wait, he was led to a small conference room. James's heart raced as he took a seat, his hands fidgeting nervously. Moments later, Officer Daniels entered, a stern expression on his face. "Thank you for coming in, James. I know this is unsettling, but we need to talk about your mother and a potential incident. Is she okay?" "What happened?" James asked, his voice tinged with worry. "Your mother was involved in a situation at the park yesterday. A woman reported that your mother had been behaving strangely around her child," Officer Daniels explained. "The woman was concerned because her child began to cry when your mother approached them." James felt a rush of anger and confusion. That doesn't sound like my mom. She loves children. Why would she make someone uncomfortable? The officer nodded. I understand. But the woman was worried enough to call the police. We just want to ensure that your mother is okay and that she isn't a danger to herself or others. James took a deep breath, trying to process the information. I can assure you, my mother isn't a danger. She's been struggling since my father passed, but she would never intentionally hurt anyone. Sometimes people react in ways that are not typical of their character when they're under stress. We just want to ensure she gets the support she needs, Officer Daniels said. What do you want me to do? James asked, his voice shaking. I just want to protect her and my son. We'd like you to talk to her and see if she's willing to come in for a counseling session, the officer suggested. It could help her work through her feelings and ensure she understands the impact of her actions on others. James nodded, grateful that the police were looking out for his mother. I will talk to her. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. As he left the station, a heavy cloud hung over him. He needed to confront his mother again, but this time, the stakes felt higher. How could he help her understand what was happening? When he returned home, Malik was still napping. James took a moment to gather his thoughts, knowing he had to approach his mother delicately. He sat at the kitchen table, waiting for Grandma Helen to arrive. An hour later, she came through the door, looking tired but hopeful. Hi, James. I brought some cookies for Malik. I thought we could have a little treat when he wakes up, she said, smiling. James forced a smile in return, but felt a knot in his stomach. Mom, can we talk for a minute? Sure, honey. What's on your mind? She replied, setting the cookies on the counter. He took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. I just got a call from the police. They mentioned a situation at the park yesterday. A woman was worried about you around her child. Grandma's expression shifted instantly from cheerful to serious. Oh no, I didn't mean to scare anyone. I just wanted to say hello to the little girl. I thought she looked sweet. I know, Mom, but your actions can sometimes be misunderstood. They want you to talk to someone about how you're feeling. It could help. Tears welled up in Grandma Helen's eyes. I didn't realize it was that serious. I've just been feeling lost, and I thought being around children would help. But maybe I'm just making things worse. James moved closer, taking her hands in his. We can work through this together. You're not alone in this. I'm here for you, and I want to help you get the support you need. Okay, James, I'll try. I don't want to hurt anyone, she whispered, her voice trembling. As they stood together in the kitchen, James felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this was the turning point they needed. It was time to face the fears and misunderstandings together, as a family. You said, the heartfelt conversation. The tension in the kitchen hung like a thick fog as Grandma Helen wiped her tears with the back of her hand. James could see the pain and confusion in her eyes, and he knew that this conversation was long overdue. He wanted to help her heal, not only for her sake, but also for Malik's. The love they had for each other was strong, but it had become tangled in fear and misunderstanding. Mom, can we sit down and talk? James suggested gently, leading her to the living room. They settled on the couch, and he noticed how her hands trembled slightly. It broke his heart to see her so fragile. I just wanted to be around Malik and other children. I thought it would bring me joy, but I didn't mean to frighten anyone, she said, her voice filled with remorse. James nodded. I understand that, and it's great that you want to connect with him. But we need to figure out what's going on. You've been through a lot since Dad passed away. It's okay to feel lost, but we can't let those feelings hurt others or make them scared. Helen looked down, her gaze fixed on her hands. I felt so alone, James. Ever since your father died, I've been trying to find ways to fill the emptiness. I thought being around kids would remind me of the joy we had as a family. James reached out, taking her hands in his. You can always find joy in us, Mom. Malik loves you so much. You don't have to look for it elsewhere. A small smile appeared on her lips. I love him too. He's the light in my life right now. But sometimes I don't know how to connect with him. I feel like I'm losing my way. You're not losing your way. You just need some support. Talking to someone could really help you sort through your feelings. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough to ask for help. James encouraged. I don't want to be a burden. I've always been the strong one in the family, she replied, her voice shaky. You don't have to carry this weight alone. Remember, it's okay to lean on family. We all go through tough times. We're here for each other, he reassured her. Think about how you would feel if the roles were reversed. You would want to help me if I were struggling. She nodded slowly, considering his words. I guess you're right. I just don't want to disappoint anyone. Mom, you could never disappoint me. I just want you to be happy and healthy. I want Malik to grow up knowing how amazing you are, he said, squeezing her hands. Let's make a plan together. We can find a counselor or a support group. I'll go with you if you want. Helen took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with tears. Thank you, James. I really appreciate your support. I've been afraid of how I might be seen by others. I don't want them to think I'm losing my mind. Everyone goes through difficult times, and it doesn't mean you're crazy. You're just human, James said softly. Taking this step shows strength. It's a sign that you care about your well-being and about Malik. A flicker of hope shone in Grandma's eyes. I'll think about it. I want to be a good grandmother for him, and I want to be the mother you need too. Let's start with small steps. We can have more time together with Malik, doing fun activities that we both enjoy, James suggested. Maybe we can go to the park or play games. It could help strengthen your bond. Helen smiled, her spirit lifting. I'd love that. I miss spending time with him. James felt relieved to see a spark of enthusiasm return to her. And if you're comfortable, we can also try to arrange playdates with other kids. It might help you feel more connected. Okay, let's do it. I'll give it my best shot, she replied, a genuine smile breaking through her earlier sadness. Just then, Malik woke up from his nap, rubbing his eyes. He spotted his grandmother and jumped off the couch, running toward her. Grandma, he shouted, his face lighting up with joy. Hi, sweetheart, Grandma Helen said, opening her arms wide. Malik ran into her embrace, and James felt a wave of warmth wash over him. This was what family was all about. As they shared a group hug, James realized that they had taken a significant step forward. There would be challenges ahead, but he felt a renewed sense of hope. They would navigate this journey together, and he was determined to support his mother in her healing. Want to help me bake cookies? Grandma Helen asked Malik, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Yes, cookies, Malik exclaimed, his energy infectious. As they moved into the kitchen, James watched them with a smile. He felt proud of his mother for being open to change, and he hoped that with love and support, they could rebuild the bond they all shared. In that moment, he knew that together, they could face anything that came their way. A visit from the therapist. The sun rose bright and warm the next day, filling the house with a golden glow. James was busy preparing breakfast while Grandma Helen set up the dining table. They had a big day planned. Today, they would meet Dr. Parker, a therapist who specialized in family issues. James hoped this meeting would help Helen and Malik connect in a deeper way. Are you ready for today? James asked, flipping pancakes on the stove. I think so, Helen replied, nervously smoothing her apron. I'm just worried about what she'll think of me. You don't need to worry about that. Dr. Parker is here to help, not judge. Just be yourself, James encouraged. This is a safe space for you to talk about what you're feeling. Helen nodded, though her anxiety was still visible. Malik came running into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. What's for breakfast? He asked, his face lighting up at the sight of pancakes. Your favorite. Pancakes with syrup, James said, grinning. And we have a special day planned too. Yay, "What's special?" Malik asked, bouncing in excitement. "We're going to meet someone who can help Grandma and you talk to each other better," James explained. Malik's eyes widened. "Will she bring cookies?" James chuckled. "I don't think so, but maybe we can bake cookies after breakfast." "Okay," Malik cheered, clapping his hands. After breakfast, they all got ready. Grandma Helen wore a soft, pastel-colored dress, trying to look presentable. Malik donned his favorite superhero shirt, feeling brave. James wanted both of them to feel comfortable and strong. When they arrived at Dr. Parker's office, a cozy building with warm colors and friendly pictures on the walls, James could see Helen's nerves kick in again. "Mom, just breathe. It's okay to feel nervous," he reassured her. As they stepped into the office, they were greeted by Dr. Parker, a warm woman with kind eyes. "Hello, everyone. It's great to meet you," she said with a welcoming smile. "How are we feeling today?" "I'm nervous," Helen admitted, her voice small. "That's perfectly normal. I'm here to help you all feel better. Let's start by talking about what brought you here today," Dr. Parker encouraged as they settled onto comfortable chairs. James watched as Helen took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "I want to understand why Malik is scared of me. I love him so much, and it hurts to see him cry when he's near me," she confessed, tears brimming in her eyes. Dr. Parker nodded. "Thank you for sharing that, Helen. It's clear you care deeply for Malik. Sometimes fear can come from misunderstanding. Malik, how do you feel when you're with Grandma?" she asked gently. Malik shifted in his seat, glancing at his grandmother. "I love her, but sometimes I get scared," he admitted, his voice trembling. "She looks sad, and I don't want her to be sad." "That's a very brave thing to say, Malik. It's normal to feel scared when we see someone we love in pain," Dr. Parker said kindly. "Helen, can you share how you've been feeling?" Helen wiped her tears. "I felt lost since my husband passed away. I thought being around Malik would bring me happiness, but I think I made him sad instead," she explained. "Grief can be a heavy burden, and it's understandable that it affects how we interact with others. It sounds like you're both feeling the weight of sadness, but you also care about each other," Dr. Parker said. "Yes, I love him," Helen said, looking at Malik with tears in her eyes. "I don't want him to be scared of me." "I'm not scared of you, Grandma," Malik said, his little voice firm. "I just want to make you happy." Dr. Parker smiled. "That's beautiful, Malik. Love is a powerful thing, and it can help you both heal. One step we can take is to create a safe space for communication. Would you both like to try some activities that might help you connect?" "I'd like that," Helen said, feeling a sense of hope. Malik nodded enthusiastically. "Can we play games?" "Absolutely. We can use games to express feelings and strengthen your bond," Dr. Parker suggested. "Let's start with a simple game where you both share what makes you happy. Helen, you can go first." Helen took a moment, then smiled softly. "I love baking cookies. It makes me feel like I'm creating something sweet and happy," she said, glancing at Malik. "I love cookies," Malik exclaimed. "Can we bake some together?" "That sounds like a perfect plan for our next session. Baking can be a fun way to spend time together," Dr. Parker said. "Now, Malik, what about you? What makes you happy?" "Playing superheroes," Malik replied with excitement. "I like when Grandma pretends to be a superhero too." Helen's eyes lit up at the thought. "I can be a superhero. That sounds fun," she said, her heart warming at the idea of joining Malik in play. Dr. Parker guided them through more sharing, helping them express their feelings and hopes. As the session went on, James felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He saw the connection between his mother and Malik begin to strengthen, and he knew they were on the right path. When the session ended, Helen and Malik left the office with smiles on their faces. James felt a surge of hope in his heart. They had taken a big step toward healing, and he believed that together they could create a loving, supportive family once again. A new beginning. The following week brought a refreshing change to the house. James had noticed a shift in the atmosphere. Laughter echoed through the rooms more often, and the tension that once lingered seemed to fade. Helen and Malik had started to bond in ways he never imagined possible. One afternoon, James came home from work to find the kitchen filled with the sweet aroma of cookies baking in the oven. He walked in to see Helen and Malik working together. Helen wore a flour-dusted apron, and Malik was happily pouring chocolate chips into the mixing bowl. "Wow, what's happening in here?" James asked, his eyes widening in surprise. "We're baking cookies," Malik exclaimed, his face beaming with joy. "Grandma is a superhero chef." Helen chuckled, her eyes sparkling with happiness. "I'm trying to be." "Malik is my trusty sidekick," she said, smiling down at her grandson. James felt his heart swell with pride. "This looks amazing. Can I be a superhero too?" "Of course," Malik shouted, bouncing on his toes. "But you have to wear an apron first." James laughed as he put on a spare apron, feeling more like part of the team. They finished baking and set the cookies to cool on the counter. The kitchen was filled with warmth and laughter, a stark contrast to the silence that had once filled the home. Later that evening, after enjoying their freshly baked cookies, the three of them settled down in the living room for a family movie night. They picked a fun animated film, and as they watched, James felt grateful for the progress they had made. As the movie ended, Malik turned to Helen with bright eyes. "Can we play a game now? I want to show you my superhero moves." Helen laughed, feeling a lightness in her heart. "Sure, show me your best moves, superhero." Malik jumped up and began to demonstrate his most impressive superhero poses. Helen joined in, mimicking his moves and laughing at his silliness. James watched, feeling a sense of joy swell in his chest. This was the connection he had hoped for, one built on love, laughter, and understanding. As they played, James felt a sense of relief wash over him. Helen seemed more vibrant, more alive. Malik's fears were slowly being replaced by love and admiration for his grandmother. They were learning to communicate, to share their feelings, and to understand each other. As the night wound down, James gathered them for a final moment together. "I'm so proud of both of you. You've worked hard to understand each other, and it's beautiful to see," he said sincerely. Malik beamed at his father. "I love Grandma. She's the best." Helen's eyes filled with tears of joy. "And I love you, sweet boy. You make me so happy," she said, pulling Malik into a warm hug. "Can we keep being superheroes together?" Malik asked, looking between James and Helen. "Absolutely," James replied, smiling. "We can be a team always." The next few weeks continued to shine brightly as they embraced this new beginning. Helen began attending therapy sessions regularly with Dr. Parker, which helped her process her grief and build her confidence. Malik continued to flourish, his relationship with his grandmother strengthening with every playful interaction they shared. One evening, as they sat together at the dinner table, James noticed a beautiful transformation in Helen. She looked happier, more engaged, and full of life. She even initiated a conversation about her late husband, sharing funny stories from their past. Malik listened attentively, laughing at his grandmother's tales. "Do you remember when Dad tried to cook dinner and set off the fire alarm?" Helen asked, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Yes," Malik giggled, imagining the scene. "Was it a super bad fire?" "It was a little smoky, but it made for a funny story." James joined in, and soon they were all laughing together. As laughter filled the room, James realized how far they had come. They had faced challenges, fears, and uncertainties, but they had emerged stronger, united by love. Helen and Malik had created a bond built on understanding and affection. In the weeks that followed, they made a point to create memories together. They visited parks, played games, and celebrated little victories. Malik's laughter became a daily melody in their home, a sign that love could heal even the deepest wounds. One afternoon, while playing in the yard, Malik turned to Helen with a serious expression. "Grandma, can we always be together like this?" "Always, my dear. I promise to always be here for you," Helen said, kneeling down to look Malik in the eye. "You are my superhero, and I'm so proud to be your grandma." James stood by the door, watching the beautiful moment unfold. He felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey they had taken together. This was just the beginning, and he knew that with love, patience, and understanding, they could face anything that came their way. As the sun set on their little home, James felt hope fill the air. They were a family, a team of superheroes, ready to take on the world, one moment at a time.